Welcome back to Step In. This is episode 13. We're very excited. We get to be back in a regular rhythm. We have Michael back with us, which is always such a
Good
pleasure.
to be here.
Yeah. And so we just thought it would make sense, do a little check-in to see how everyone's doing. So, Tay, why don't you start us off?
I can start us off. Let me see. Highlight, got a dirt bike. That is my biggest highlight. Feel like I've talked everybody's ear off about it. And we have a few incredible people on staff, Tyler and Owen, who I went dirt biking with over the last weekend. And that was pretty great. A lot of fun.
What kind of bike?
It is a 2021 YZ 450F Yamaha.
Wow.
Blue. And I also went to Monster Jam, which made me feel like I was 5 years old, but it was pretty sweet.
Go do the bike, go to
the bike, and then I went
That's
to
awesome.
Monster Jam. But I was quite surprised. Monster Jam was so much quieter and smaller than I remember. I don't think it's just because I'm older and bigger that it makes it seem smaller. I think that it actually did get quieter and smaller. So that was a little underwhelming. Still fun nonetheless. Yeah. What about you, Mike?
Did you see Noah and Finn there?
No, they went the day before me.
Ah.
But we sent videos back and forth. So
I would
felt
love
like
to
I was
hear if
there.
they thought it was like, it's just so weird. Perspective is so weird when you're
Yeah.
little. Everything.
Yeah.
Check in for me.
Mhm.
Life is going great. Yeah, things are good. Highlight, I would say highlight is we had a bunch of the family come over Sunday night, like as we often do. But it was just super fun. Everyone's just in a great mood, and the grandkids are just hilarious. They beat me up.
Love it.
Love it. Low light is like a lot of people are sick. A
Yeah,
lot
tough.
of people are sick right now, and so I'm trying to sanitize my hands once in a while and not get sick.
That's a good strat.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Do you have scented hand sanitizer or no?
All right, Corinne has this stuff. It's incredible.
Is
I
it?
can't get enough of it. Even when I don't need it, I'm like, Corinne, can I have a little more hand sanitizer?
Do you remember
Yeah.
back in like COVID times when hand sanitizer was just everything?
Like gasoline.
You put it on and like I literally had to step away for a moment.
yeah.
It was so bad. Yeah. Anyway. Spence, what
That's
about
good
you?
stuff. Highlight from this last week.
Mhm.
The weather's been getting much nicer. So that's been amazing. It sounds lame, but really nice family walk last weekend, which was,
Yep.
that was awesome. Little, baby and the dogs, and it was beautiful weather, which is, I don't know. We live in a very beautiful part of the city too, which is very, very nice. So
Yeah.
that's been sweet.
Sweet.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, well, that's cool. I guess should we just like dive right in?
Yeah, I think we should.
Let's go.
I think we should dive right in.
Let's go.
Okay. At the beginning of your message,
Yep.
you talked quite a bit about this OG song that I didn't know was written by this other guy, and then Rascal Flatts rewrote it, Life is a Highway.
Uh-huh.
But then you suggested to us that life is actually a lot like an ocean. And so you talked about 3 different boats that sometimes we can live like. You talked about how we can live life like a raft, where we're just sitting there. We can live life like a motorboat, where we're just trying to do it all ourselves. And then you suggested that the way that we should live is life as a sailboat. What was it exactly? Wind of the Spirit, fill the sail of my soul.
Sails of my soul.
Sails
Yeah.
of my soul, that's right.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you, how can anyone tuning in today use those 3 boats to determine how they're doing in life right now?
That's really good. So basically, I think for me, for years and years and years, this is what I thought. I thought that when you became a Christian, that God just kind of took it from there. Like that I was just going to become everything I was created to be, and it was just going to happen. Now, conversely, some people, when they first become Christians, what they do is that they kind of think it's the raft mentality again. But what they think is like, our job now is just to hang out and wait till heaven. And so both of those are wrong. They're both kind of raft concepts. So if you kind of feel that way, one of those 2 things where you're like, well, God's just going to change me and I just have to wait around, or life just really sucks. And so one day I get to go to heaven, you're on the wrong track. Like, I'm not judging you, but you're on the wrong track. Having said that, if you feel like you're a little bit more of a motorboat, which is just like, if you were completely honest, you would say that your effort, your time, your attention, everything goes into doing your thing. So you can't maybe remember the last time you were like, God, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm listening. Show me what I should do. I'm going to move forward, but not my will, but your will. But if you're more like, no, and maybe even a step further where you're thinking, man, I just have this need. Like for me, I've shared this before. Like there's a good part of me that really likes to do things well. If I'm going to do something, I try to do it well. But the flip side to that is I can be a little bit compulsive about it, like where I really want to win, whether I'm playing Taylor at Monopoly or anything like that. And that is kind of a joke, but even in board games, like when I was younger, I would hate to lose so badly. The point is, I think that's an unhealthy drive, which is just kind of like, man, like I got to fix what's broken inside of me. And I'm almost like, I'm just running. I'm being run by my own efforts, my own energy. I'm feeding my anxiety. I'm feeding my adrenaline. And that's a hard one. But if you could just step back and go, okay, wait a minute. Where does my hope really come from? Where does my meaning really come from? Where does my identity really come from? Where does my value really come from? And if you're able to go, you know what? I got to be honest. In theory, I know it's God, but lately I just feel like I'm acting like it's all up to me. You're probably more on the motorboat mentality. And so the whole thing that we've been sharing about the sailboat is just this idea that grace is opposed to earning, but it's not opposed to effort. Like, in other words, I need to arrange my life in a way where I stick the sails up. I understand, hey, the Holy Spirit supplies the wind. Okay, so I know, like, I can't change myself. I can't heal what's broken inside of me. I can't fill what's empty deep down inside of me. I can't, but God can. And I have to do something. I have to cooperate because he's not going to violate. He's not going to take me if I'm a raft and throw me into this ocean called life. And he's not just going to follow along after me as I'm trying to be a motorboat going, I want to bless you as you drive away. Mm-hmm. But it's more like, no. It's the wind of the Spirit. And then it's like building my life in such a way that I'm setting the sails of my soul so that he can take me. He can supply the power. I supply the sail. And we move through this thing called life together.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
So it's really tough because, but I think, I don't think it's impossible. It's just that idea of just asking yourself that simple question. Do I gravitate more towards raft? As a younger Christian, I think I kind of did. Like I was going about my life and I was working hard, but I was just kind of waiting for this transformation to happen, kind of almost like in spite of me. Mm-hmm. So is that me? Or have I been caught into this cycle where I'm just trying to do everything on my own and then just step back? It doesn't and just say, okay, God, I get it. Wind of the Spirit fill the sails of my soul. How can I arrange my life? And in a couple of weeks at church, we're going to talk about even building a rule of life, which is just kind of a really efficient, organized way to set the sails of your soul.
Can I share a thought on that?
Please do.
Which I don't even know how this was like allowed, but when I was like really young in grade 5, I went to Cultus Lake Elementary. And they put all of us in pairs in sailboats. They're mini sailboats. And it was like actually probably the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And so we were out on Cultus Lake. And anyway, your analogy spoke to me in this way. We put up the sails and that's great.
Yeah.
But like the wind, like it does keep shifting and stuff like that. Like there's so much work that went into keeping us going in a straight line that I just thought like your analogy played on so many different levels. Like, yeah, we can put up the sails and that's important. We put that effort in, but it's once we put them up, it's not like we just sit there. Like there's so much effort that goes into it. And I thought, yeah, it brought me back to grade 5. I don't know why they would let us in sailboats like that, but it was pretty cool. And it was a really real example. That was helpful.
I like that a lot because it's like the idea of like now I figured out I'm never going to be a raft. So in other words, I'm never going to sit around and go like, okay, God, you need to do this. And I'm not even going to cooperate. Well, of course, we're always tempted to go back there. Mm-hmm. So we always have to correct that. Or I'm never going to just do things on my own thinking that I'm going to, well, we always are. And so that in a way, like I like that picture, that grade 5 kid in the sailboat, always having to adjust, always having to work because that's the thing is like every moment of every day is this series of decisions. Do I trust God? You know, I was talking to a buddy the other day and he's like, I got no problem, capital T, trusting God. And he's like, basically the idea of Easter. We're celebrating Easter here in a little bit, okay? And it's like, Jesus lived, died, rose again, secured my eternity. I got no problem believing that, capital T truth. He's like, you know what I have problems with? Lowercase t truth. Like to trust him in this little moment right now to make this little decision, which is like grade 5 Taylor on the sailboat. Am I willing to adjust my thinking when I feel like, no, God would have me do it this way? Am I willing to do that work, that spiritual discipline people talk about? And that's when does the Spirit fill the sails of my soul? That's the sailboat, right?
Yeah, I like that.
That's really good. I think that's interesting. I think we'll talk about this a little bit later, but something that I've noticed is that when people are brand new to their faith, like God is so gracious and so kind. I think that the trust, it almost happens in a tidal wave at first, in the sense that like it feels a little bit more maybe like you're that raft, right? Where it's like, whoa, like all these things are changing in my life. I feel God really close. Even the people they've shared with me, oh, like every time I've come to church, I'm like cry, like I don't even know why. Like I'm just like crying, and I think it's probably because they're trusting God with some larger areas of their life, and so I think that it maybe feels more like God's doing all the work. And a few people that I've had conversations with recently, their question actually is, how can I continue to grow? And I'd be curious to know how you would encourage them, because I think what you were just saying is so good, but like, how can you encourage someone like that? Because the temptation, I think in that moment, is to go to motorboat, right? Because like they want to grow. And so their motivation actually isn't necessarily bad, right? What would you say to somebody in that situation who wants to grow, but is kind of feeling maybe like they're moving from big T trust into little T trust?
I think it's good because like about a month ago, I think for me, I would say like in my entire life, probably among the most meaningful things that anyone has ever said to me in my entire life is Corinne, about a month ago, maybe a little bit less, said to me, "You've changed so much over the last year and a half. Like you've grown so much as a man and as a follower of Jesus." And I was just like, wow, like I found that really overwhelmingly encouraging. And I would say to those people who were struggling, is I would say this: there's something that those new followers of Jesus knew that we can't forget. Bible talks about it as the joy of our salvation. And I, about a year and a half ago, I just made a decision. I'm not letting go of that. In other words, what I mean is I changed a lot when Jesus saved me when I was 19 years old. And I believe that that same Holy Spirit that changed me when I was 19 still wants to change me now. And I would say this, it goes back to that James chapter 1, verse 22 that we talked about, I think last week or the week before, when we're talking about don't merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves, do what it says. And for me, I've been really pressing into that lately. Like I think sometimes we think that knowledge alone, like spending a lot of time in church or spending a lot of time in my devotions, is going to change me. And there is some power in the Bible itself. Right. But James himself said, the little brother of Jesus said, you got to do what it says. And so what I've been trying to do a lot lately is to actually apply. And I maybe have talked about this before, but you know, you read something like Psalm 23 that says, the Lord is my shepherd. And then you have to stop and go, this isn't a poem. This is a part of the Bible. Is he my shepherd? And if he isn't right now, if being completely honest, I would say, well, no, I'm a motorboat. I'm so far, like, I mean, he's way back there. Then I would say, but how can I make him my shepherd? Like, so even in that moment, repentance, changing my mind and asking God to change my heart. So in that moment going, okay, but Lord, you are my shepherd. And I've been running headlong my own way. And please just show me what to do and I'll follow. And then going through, like, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Is that true? Well, sometimes it's sure not. So then it's like, okay, but Jesus, you've got me. Life, death, pain, pleasure, greatness, failure, whatever it is, you've got me. You're with me. You're for me. And so it's just that ability to take that and to apply it. So if I was a long-time Christian, I would walk into church next week, walk into reading the Bible next week, walk into my next small group with this sense of, oh man, God's going to do something. I'm going to be changing. Just like I did when I was 19 years old. Whoa, I'm going to change so much this week. God's got something up. And I want to set my sail because the wind of the Spirit is going to fill the sail of my soul. So there's this sense of expectation. As a preacher, you can really see it. Like sometimes you think to yourself, man, you can prepare all you want to preach a sermon and you're so ready and you're so prayed up and you can't wait. And then all of a sudden you get into a specific environment where the faith level and the expectation level is low. And it's like, man, I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like the Holy Spirit works through people of expectancy and faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. So if that's not there, it's just like you feel like you're pushing uphill. And then another week you can walk up and go, okay, like I think I'm ready. I think this sermon's okay. And you just sense in the room, there's just this sense of joy, like God's here and we can't wait to hear what he has to say. And it's just like, here we go. Because that faith is fueling. God is opposed to earning, but he's not opposed to effort. Putting the effort in to say, I'm going to apply your words, God. You are God. I'm expecting big things, and you've never failed and you won't start now. It's just, I think that's a huge part of it.
That's awesome. What does that look like taking it like out of Sunday? Because I think Sunday is like you can posture your heart for that and all those things. What does it look like to do that on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yeah, I think for me lately, what I've been doing too, I've shared this, but it's just this idea of even like Isaiah 40. Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary. His understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary, increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary. Young men stumble and fall, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They'll rise up on wings like eagles. They'll run and not grow weary. They'll walk and not be faint. I go over that in my head over and over all day, not just on Sundays. Because for me, I can be so quickly losing hope. So quickly, anxiety can come in. And it's like, it's Psalm chapter 42. I believe David says, why are you downcast, O my soul? Why are you downcast, O my soul? Hope in the Lord. And so I preach to myself, I'm walking along, and there's a choice, and I can choose to follow God or compromise, or I can choose to give in to anxiety or stand on faith. And it's like, I preach to my soul. I'm like, do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. And those who hope in him will renew their strength. And I just keep, like, I believe that, and I own that. And I remind myself of that, not just on Sunday morning, but like every day of my life. And so that's what I would say.
Oh, I love that. I really love that. I mean, on Sunday, you kind of challenged the idea. Well, you challenged us to take worship into the rest of our life, right?
Yeah.
And you repronouncing it as worthship, right?
Yeah.
Recognizing the power and the recognizing God in our life every single day, which I really loved that. It was super impactful and just a great reminder to me about that. And you actually then said, what we do here on a Sunday, well, first of all, this is not, worship music is not a genre, right? So It's not a genre. And what we are doing here on Sunday, you said, I'd like to call it worship practice.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak more to that?
So like, because I want to make sure that no one would ever sense that I'm diminishing the power of music at church. And so like, remember we were talking about how when we sing together in a room, that I believe that the promise of the Bible, Jesus said, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I'll be with them. He is always with us. But his promise there is that there will be a special, like a manifest presence of God when 2 or 3 are gathered. Well, what about when 2 or 3,000 are gathered?
Right.
And we're breathing together and we're singing, all different backgrounds, all different political opinions, all different ages. And now, according to studies, our hearts begin to beat in one accord. So I believe in the power of music. It's such a huge thing. But I also believe that the preaching should be worship. In other words, we should magnify God. We should talk about the worth of God. He's great and he's good. We should remind ourselves during the preaching. But now that's just the beginning. Because here's the truth, man. Come on. Anybody can be awesome on Sunday. Right?
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about a preacher. You get up there and you can plan a great sermon. Yeah, but how are you doing Monday morning?
Right.
How you, right? And
Totally.
the point that I'm making is that I won't stop remembering his greatness and his goodness.
Yeah. That's so good.
You know what I mean? I won't. And so it's all week long, but there is that significant promise of Jesus that says where 2 or 3 are gathered, there I'm with them. And so we take that as practice and say, you know what? I love what happened Sunday. I wouldn't want anyone to miss Sunday. Don't miss Sunday. Okay. But then take that as a springboard into the rest of your week.
Yeah. Why do you think we've tied music so closely with worship?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I mean, maybe they just wanted to, comparing it to, I don't know. The book of Psalms is a group of songs and it talks a lot about worship. But there's other passages throughout the Bible that talk about worship in different ways apart from song.
That's good. Yeah.
I think like you had a heavy emphasis on like whether or not we choose to worship God in all different areas of our life, like makes a huge difference. And I wanted to ask you, what does it look like to worship God even when times are hard? Because I feel like it can be a lot easier to be like, wow, God is so good when it's a sunny day outside.
Yes.
But then when it's rainy and when things start to go, I don't know, a way that you wouldn't expect, I find it a lot more difficult to just naturally lean into that. What would you say it looks like to worship specifically in the hard times?
You know, I was listening to a podcast of, well, I'll say it, Garrett from Good Golf.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
pretty awesome dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's got major heart problems, like major. And he just shared from the heart. And he said something really amazing at the end. He's just like, I've just come to the conclusion. I don't know how many days I have left, might have years and years left, but I've come to this conclusion. God, I'm in your hands. And so for me, I think you're right. I think it's easy to worship when things are great. But I think the true test of like, is God really great? And is God really good in my life? Do I really trust him? I think the true test is, do I trust him when every circumstance isn't aligned in my direction? And I think for me, that's again, that idea of saying, God, come what may, like you're with me and you're for me. These circumstances might not be what I want right now, but you're with me and you're for me no matter what. This choice that you're asking me to make, where you're asking me to trust you in this area of finances, this area of relationship, this area of entertainment, this area of addiction that I need to break free from. You're asking me to trust you, and it's really, really hard. But you know what I do? I trust you enough to take my next faltering step. See, to me, that's beautiful. They make movies about that stuff. I don't know. I've never seen a movie that's 2 hours long where it's just like one guy and life is good and fun and fair and everything's easy. And at the end, it's like, it's still easy and they lived happily ever after. I've never seen that show because there's something inside of you and something inside of me that's made to persevere. And when it comes to a follower of Jesus, that's made to lean into Jesus, especially when, what's that old poem where they're like, some guy looks back at his life and it's like he's walking along a seashore and it's like him and Jesus walking side by side. And he's like, wow, like that's so cool. Jesus was with me. And then all of a sudden when times are really, really, really hard in his life, it's like, Jesus, where'd you go? No wonder things suck so bad you weren't there. And he's like, no, that's when I was carrying you. That's who I want to be. And I know that's so much easier to say that in theory than live it. Yeah. But that's who I aspire to be, man, because those are the people that inspire me. Those are the people who you go, okay, I can follow that woman. I can follow that man. I can be inspired by them, you know?
Yeah, I think that's really good. I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I think that, I mean, the way that trust looks in those seasons is also so different. The way that like worship and recognition of God looks so different in those seasons. I think that, I know for me, there's times that I would believe that it's exactly the same. It looks exactly the same, right? Like when things are really hard, I'm like, you know, smile on my face, you know, God is still good, right? Like, and it's just interesting how much it shifts, right? Like how different it actually is. And I think, I don't know, at times I believe that I have to really, like the joy of the Lord is actually just like forced happiness, right? Like where it's like in those moments, worship actually means, you know, smile on your face and still praising God in the same way. Because I think back, like when Sydney got diagnosed with her blood disease. Dude, I remember there was one. So it was all in the same week that all this stuff was starting to go down. And I remember I still went because it was during COVID. I wasn't allowed to be in the hospital at the beginning, and I didn't know what else to do. So I went to work, and I was sitting in a staff meeting, and I had been like just trying to hold it all together for the last week, where people would ask me, and I'm just like, you know, like I'm trusting God, yada, yada. And then I just like, they asked me in the staff meeting, and I don't know what it was about that context, but I just burst out in tears, right? Because I'm like, the reality of like me worshiping God in this season looks very, very different. And I think that sometimes, I don't know if somebody's listening and they feel like they're in a season like that, like I think we can sometimes convince ourselves that we have to, it has to look, you know, the same way. Right. Like, you know, maybe you raise your hands on a Sunday and you're like, maybe I have to do that. That's what it looks like. Right. But it's like, I don't know. Sometimes it looks like you're crying your eyes out in the living room. And like, God, I still trust you. And I mean, something that Taylor and I have talked about a lot, and something that our verse that we're actually memorizing in Brohawks is the story of the dad who brings his son and says, Jesus, like, help me with my unbelief. I do believe, help me with my unbelief. And I feel like worship can often look like that.
That's worship, man.
Right. Yeah.
And you crying in that staff meeting after everything that you went through, that's worship. That's not somebody going, I give up on God.
Yeah.
But it's almost like we talk about the address of Jesus is the end of myself. That's you going,
Yeah.
all I got left is Jesus right now.
Yeah. You know what's interesting though is the temptation, as we were even just talking about the boats, the temptation is to be a motorboat in that season though.
100%.
You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting, right? Where it's like, oh, like you would think, I mean, if you were to give anyone advice in that situation, it would not be to do that, but we have the temptation to do that.
Yep.
Right. So I just think that's really, really, really fascinating.
Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
This is, wow, I'm switching it up a little bit here.
Okay, sure.
But I didn't see it this morning and I was a little disappointed. But you mentioned in your talk that you're a big elliptical guy.
Did I say that in the talk?
You did. And I wanted to know, just roughly.
I just picked the wrong water bottle, by the way, Jake. Sorry about that.
I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
If you could guess roughly, how many kilometers do you think you would get in a month on the elliptical?
Because when I see you, you're just like absolutely putting in the work on that thing.
Well, okay. Are we including resistance as like I'm going further because of my...
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
27,000 kilometers.
Wait, and how much?
That was a very confident.
I have no idea, man. I have no idea.
Well,
I do a lot. I'm not bragging, but
all I
I do a
know
lot.
is that every time I see you, you're really giving that machine the business.
Thank you.
You know, you're
Thank you so
just
much.
working hard. If you're not doing your leg stretch, you're on that thing.
So both of these guys, right, just so you know, in case you're watching or listening to the podcast, you're wondering, yes, they're mocking me out completely.
No, not
But
mocking
I'm just doing the elliptical, you know?
No, I mean, I can't say that I've done it that much. That's for sure.
Yeah, I had an elliptical in my basement for a long time. Went on it twice. That's about it. It's still there to this day. If you want it, though, we don't use it.
I might need a bike after I get a new knee.
True.
They say you got to get a bike into your house. Stationary bike.
Spence, do you have the setup yet?
A bike?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a bike. I don't have a...
No, but like I thought you said you were going to do a setup at one point.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not that dedicated to it.
Well,
I just bike to work to save gas, so...
Well, Spence is 221 pounds now.
True.
And solid.
True.
So honestly, we can joke around all we want. This guy's a machine right now, to be honest with you.
And what can you say? Okay, I'm ready to dive back in now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so one thing that was...
Thanks for making fun of the elliptical.
I just wanted to bring it up because it was a key point for me.
Sure.
Another key point from your
That was the key
though,
point of the sermon, my elliptical trainer?
No. This next point was.
Okay.
You said that our world is now more open to religion than ever, with the idea that like most people would agree that they need more. They don't know what, but they like you try to chase money, but you can never get enough, or you try to chase things or pleasure or whatever it is, you can never get enough. And I wanted to ask you, I think at the same time, people are open to more things, but we also have more things to choose from, whether that's different religions or tarot cards or the universe or crystals or whatever it is.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who's very open to searching, but with so many choices, why Jesus?
Okay, first of all, I'm not sure what order to do this in. Let me talk about some stuff.
Okay.
And then I'm going to give you my strategy. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
My strategy. I was thinking about, after Sunday, I was thinking a little bit about how every human being on the planet has three basic needs, way more than that, but three existential needs. They talk about origin, where did I come from? Purpose, what am I doing here? And destiny, what happens to me when I die? You know, identity's in there sometimes too. Who am I, right? But I think it's so amazing when you think about Jesus, how he answers all three. So when it comes to origin, I'm not time plus matter plus chance. I'm not a cosmic fluke. Like I was created lovingly by Heavenly Father in his image. Psalm 139 says I was fearfully and wonderfully made. So I'm his idea. He thought me up. Beautiful. My purpose is to shine. I was created in the image of God, and there's a true me. And as I shine, I make the world a brighter place. I make the world a better place. I bless other people. I love other people. This world is better because I was placed on it. And so every one of us is going to shine differently, but my role is to shine, not just to get by, not just to exist, but to shine. And then my destiny is my body's going to wear out, but I'm never going to wear out. I'm going to live forever. New heaven, new earth. And we're going to talk a lot about this on Easter Sunday, but the point is it's that. And then there's the other end of it is this. What makes Jesus unique to me, I think C.S. Lewis said this in Mere Christianity, said like, you look at a fish and a fish longs for water. Why? Because it was made for water.
Hmm.
And then he compares a fish to us. And he says, for so many of us, we spend our whole lives longing for something that this world doesn't offer. It's that idea again of when I chase this stuff, when I chase money or I chase sex or I chase success or I chase trophies or I chase popularity, whatever it is, it's like it's outside stuff, but I'm I don't have a soul. I am a soul. I have a body. I am a soul. I am a soul. I am a soul. My soul is going to live forever. This body's going to wear out. I'm going to get a new body. So C.S. Lewis says, if I find in myself, I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit, a longing that nothing on this earth can satisfy, the most logical explanation is I was made for another world. So I was created by Jesus to exist in eternity with him. All of that to say, I believe the whole world is longing for that. And I believe that what makes Jesus unique is he says, hey, you can't do it. That's the offensive aspect of the gospel. You can't do it, but I can. So whether it's money or tarot cards or other religions, it's always about how can you do it? How can you make it happen? How can you earn your salvation? And the whole point is Jesus says, you can't. Let me do it for you. Now, we talked a lot about spiritual formation, but when it comes to salvation, being made right with God, Jesus says, I've done it. So I believe that I believe that the whole world, I think it was G.K. Chesterton said that the man walking out of the brothel or walking into the brothel is looking for Jesus. The whole world, I believe, whether they know it or not, is looking for him. So I don't need to be his ad agent. This is what I mean. If I ask you Acts chapter 1, verse 8, could you say it to me?
How's it start?
Could you? you will receive
Power
when the
Holy Spirit comes upon you,
and you will be my witnesses. Acts chapter 1, verse 8. You will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses. I just love that so much. This is what it means to me. It means I don't have to be a lawyer. I don't have to argue with people. I don't have to be a judge condemning people. I'm a witness. So my point isn't to argue anybody into a relationship with Jesus. My job is to two things. We talked about this already. Wind of the Spirit fill the sails of my soul to such a degree that people look at me and go, dude, that guy's a little bit crazy, but awesome crazy. I want to get to know more about him. And secondly, that ability to go, hey, not pushing anything on you, not arguing with you. Hey, can I tell you what Jesus has done for me? You want to come to church this weekend? It'd be awesome. I think you'd like it. No pressure, but it'll show you a little bit more about what I believe. And then it's this idea of, I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to argue. I'm just here to be a witness. And I honestly believe, and I know this is obvious, Jesus doesn't need us to promo him. Jesus doesn't need us to shine a light on him. He is like every single person in the world chasing after every single thing they chase after is actually chasing after Jesus. And all we need to do is just be willing to be his witness.
Cool. How would you because the Great Commission, Jesus says, go into the world and make disciples, right? And I mean, I love that idea that you're saying, be my witness to people. How would you tell somebody that they can step into, like what we talked about on Sunday, the evangelism piece? Like, what does it look like for somebody to do that, to step into the Great Commission of saying, spread the good news of Jesus, while also embracing that idea of evangelism?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think there's this old phrase that I think of sometimes when I think about evangelism, and it's this: it's invest and then invite. Invest and then invite. So I believe that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And I was placed on this planet to care. I was made to care. I love to care. When I start to become too much of a motorboat, I'm flying too fast to care.
Right.
Does that make sense? So I try to say to myself almost every day when I walk into the gym, when I walk into the mall, when I walk into wherever, a sporting event, Jesus, I'm available. I'm available where if someone needs to be encouraged today, help me encourage them. If someone needs to be helped today, let me help them. And there's that idea of investment into other people, not for some weird bait and switch, but because it's so fun. That's one of the reasons I was placed on this planet, right? And then after you've invested in people, to be willing to say, hey, like, want to come to church? Not in a like hit and run kind of way, but in an invest and invite kind of way. Does that answer the question? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, I think that I think a lot of people maybe have like the question is like, okay, well, I because I want to invite my friends, right? And maybe they just don't know how, right? And so yeah, like what would your best advice be to whether they're a new Christian or not, somebody who's decided that they want to take on that challenge that you gave on Sunday of like step into evangelism? Because and I mean, I felt convicted about it because I think a lot of people, and I would hope it's true for a lot of people who listened on Sunday, is that they maybe had categorized evangelism as something that is dependent on your personality, is dependent on your individual gifting, whatever it may be, right? But you framed it as a spiritual discipline, a spiritual practice, right? So like I felt convicted about that, right? And so what would you say to somebody who's wanting to take that step, right? And they want to do it the right way, which like the invest and then invite thing I think is so incredible and so key. But how would you instruct or maybe encourage somebody to take a step into evangelism?
So number one, I would say this, it is a spiritual practice, which means a lot of times you talked earlier, I think, Spence, about how when someone first begins following Jesus, they're just like on fire and they're like, look at that person change. One of the reasons is because without even thinking, they have a desperation, which we're all called to have. But the longer you're in church, it's kind of like, but they got it.
Right.
They have a heart to tell other people. Sometimes people they've invested in, and sometimes just like, hey man, how are you? Jesus saved me. You know what I mean? And so, but there's that, but there's that part that they get, which is life is not a movie about me. I can remember 3 days ago when I was doing life my own way, it didn't go so well, and now Jesus saved me, and it's about Him now. And so when I go, it's that idea of like, it's not about me. And so if I'm waiting around as a longtime church attender to get my life perfect, I'm telling you, evangelism is a spiritual practice. You won't become the person you're created to be unless you practice evangelism. But yet you're waiting around to practice evangelism until you become the person that you're created to be.
Right.
You need to set the sails of your soul by inviting people. I don't know what I do is lots of different ways. People are open to spiritual conversations.
Yeah.
They just really are.
Yeah.
Like you get 3 questions in to some guy at the gym, and all of a sudden you realize everybody has challenges and they need hope that goes beyond what they're currently experiencing. So that there's that idea of not being offensive or judgmental, but just being like, this is why, and that's why I really believe in Jesus. And then what I do around special service times is in my little gym bag, I got a bunch of invites. And so I handed one out this morning and I just said to a guy, hey, you've been talking about coming to church, just in case you're wondering when the service times are. And he says to me, yeah, and a friend of mine from the gym here wants to come with me, and we're going to come, and it's going to be awesome. I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just this intentionality that says, I don't need to wait around. I can practice it right now. And I think something that we said on Sunday, which I found kind of, that was my keys falling, kind of interesting, was like the idea of, am I okay with the fact that they might reject my invitation, but the rejected invitation that rolls around in their head is going to end up being an absolute game changer in their life 2 years down the road. I am. I really, really am. Because it wasn't about me. I'm not here to pump my tires. I'm just here to be a witness.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, and I mean, I think that it's actually more challenging to invite the person you already have investment in than it is the stranger, to be really honest, right? And I think that, I know for me, that was something convicting on Sunday. Because there's somebody in my life that I feel like I've consistently invited to things, consistently tried to reach out to. And, you know, every part of me is like, I won't do it this time.
Right.
Because like, it feels like there's a lot to lose, right? I was like, well, what if they get fed up and like they actually like will just continue to, maybe they'll cut me off because I've asked them one too many times.
Yep.
Right. So I don't know. I think that's really a really good encouragement to people though.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I can relate to that a lot. I do think, I don't know, after you invite someone maybe like once or twice, even if it's just like once a year to Christmas or to Easter, whatever it is, once you get past a few times, you're like, oh, like I don't want to be like I'm nagging them to come out. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that only feels like that from our side. But then also something I think is so true from your talk is that people are so open to that spiritual conversation.
Mm.
And I think it is such a barrier that we run into thinking that they're not. Because once you break through that, it is pretty bizarre. I think it is cool. Anytime I'm in like a social setting and we're like talking to people, I'm with friends or whatever, and then somebody like the idea of like different jobs come up, and I say, I'm like, oh, I work at a church. Instantly, like the vibe shifts. You know what I mean? And then they're like, oh, you work at a church? What do you think about this? And like, so people are very interested in it. But then me, on the other hand, I'm like, oh, are they going to think I'm a weirdo for this? Like, are they going to stop talking to me right now? And that hasn't really been the case, but it's just been something that was convicting since this last Sunday is like, no, like this is exactly what I need to do. And it's not as scary as it seems.
No. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. What would you say like to somebody? So this will be our last question. We only have time for this one more. Okay. But I think this is a really good one.
Okay.
Is if somebody is on the verge, right, like they're like, I really want to share, whether it's somebody they've invested in or there's somebody that maybe they feel like God has put on their heart that they want to share Jesus with. How would you encourage them? And maybe even like specifically, what are a couple things that they may be able to ask God to help them overcome? Like what are some barriers, some common barriers that get in the way that they could try to face or overcome with the help of Jesus?
I'm going to answer this in an unorthodox way. Okay. I would speak to you right now. If you're thinking about inviting someone into a spiritual conversation, inviting someone to church for Easter weekend, this is what I would say to you, because fear is going to come. Bible says God didn't give you a spirit of fear, by the way. So who is giving you a spirit of fear? Yeah. So I would say this to you and to me. Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. His understanding no one can fathom. He will not grow tired or weary. He gives strength to the weary, increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But listen to me now. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They'll soar on wings like eagles. They'll run and not grow weary. They'll walk and not be faint. You're going to be okay. And it's scary and it's hard, which is what makes it so awesome. Because we don't live by fear. We live by faith. Faith over fear every single time. And that's who I want to be. And even that question, the way you asked it, Spencer, inspired me to, I want to live by faith, not fear. And one more thing, just as we're closing, is like in my experience of inviting hundreds and hundreds of people, some of who have said yes, some of whom have not, is like, in my experience, I've never had one person get mad at me. I've never had one person write me off. It's like, hey, like this is the biggest thing. Jesus completely and absolutely changed my life and saved me. I just thought I would like to tell you about it. I've never had anybody offended by that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to this podcast.
And happy Easter week, everybody.
Happy Easter. As we go throughout our week, I want to encourage everyone, as well as myself, to lean into that idea of worship as a spiritual practice, as well as evangelism. This Saturday and Sunday, what are our service times? 2:30 and 4 on Saturday?
2:30, 4:30.
2:30, 4:30 on trucks. Saturday. Food trucks, petting zoo, only on the Saturday. And then Sunday, our regular service times, 8:45, 10:15, and 11:45.
Nice.
Invite your friends, invite your family. See you guys there. Mike, before we close, Mike, would you like to pray to close?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Do you not know, have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary. His understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men and young women stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They'll rise up. They'll soar on wings like eagles. They'll run and not grow weary. They'll walk and not be faint. Jesus, right now we put our hope in you. We're so thankful. We're so thankful that this work you started in us, you're not anywhere near done. And so we put our hope in you. You are great. and you are good, and we are your witnesses, and we are so grateful for this life that you give us, for this opportunity that we have. Bless everybody listening and everybody watching right now in your name. Amen.
Amen.